This is the Transforming Anxiety podcast with Kelly Hanlon McCormick, and today is episode number 217. You might be a people pleaser if... Welcome to Transforming Anxiety. I'm your host, Kelly McCormick. I'm a mom to 2 boys, a wife, friend, daughter, and sister, and I'm a certified life coach, yoga teacher, and soon-to-be mindfulness meditation teacher. I'm no stranger to anxiety, and I'm here to teach you how to manage your mind and your emotions so that you too can transform anxiety into calm, peace, and whatever you want for your life. I'm so glad you're here. Hey there. Welcome in today. What's happening? How are you? I am so glad to be here with you, just hanging out, having this conversation. All of these conversations. You know, we've had 217 conversations. Sheesh. So, listen, a while back, my therapist called me a people pleaser. And I have to be honest, at first my thought was rude. It's just... To be honest with you, it's not really a label that I've identified with personally, because of course, like with most things, this is just far easier to see in other people than it is to see in yourself. But I've been sifting through some fairly big things lately. I've been looking at different relationships in my life. I've been sifting through friendships and family, and even how I'm approaching parenting and business. So I took this feedback, we'll call it, and I got curious. Like, what if I tried that label on for a bit? What if I assumed there was some truth in that I am a people pleaser? Then what? So, per usual, I started researching. I wanted to find out more about people pleasing. I wanted to find out what it actually looks like in the wild, like how the behavior actually shows up in everyday interactions and conversations and situations. Because if the theoretical label wasn't resonating with me, maybe some of the finer details would. And how? So I thought I'd bring what I found to the podcast today and share it here with you, because my hunch is that more than a few of you are also people pleasers. And maybe you know it, and maybe you own that label. Maybe you're fully aware of this in yourself. But for others of you, maybe you have the same reaction as me. Like, you've heard of people pleasers. You can identify some people pleasers in your life, but maybe you don't think it's you. And here's the thing. Maybe you're suffering a bit because you're dismissing that idea when really you could benefit from seeing some of your actions as people-pleasing actions. Like, I know I have. So we'll explore it a bit together today. Just see how this looks, try it on, see what fits, see what doesn't fit, and see what this could mean for you and for your relationships. Maybe for your work, maybe for your parenting, maybe just your general approach to the people in your life. It's been really, really helpful for me. So here we go. And quick sidebar, the title of this podcast, by the way, is just a stupid riff on that Jeff Foxworthy skit, right? Do you remember that? You might be a redneck. Is that how that even went? I think it's how it went. I don't know why. That really wasn't my jam, his comedy or anything, but it popped into my head when I got the idea for this podcast. And honestly, I couldn't think of anything better. It kind of fits. So here we are. All right. People pleasing is defined by the American Psychological Association as the tendency to place an inordinate value on relationships over personal independence. And this isn't an either or thing. We aren't looking to dismiss the value of interpersonal relationships and connection and support systems, of course. What we want to key into where people pleasing is concerned is the cost. Like, when you're engaged in this kind of behavior, you wind up abandoning yourself And that is what's vital about about this whole conversation. It's not that you can't be nice, right? It's not that you don't want to help other people or be kind. Of course you do. It's when you wind up completely neglecting yourself in order to do that stuff that it becomes troublesome. Yeah? So I thought we'd start by looking at some specific ways that people pleasing shows up. There are some sneaky behaviors, there are some ideas, beliefs, feelings, symptoms that come up when you're engaging in people pleasing. And this is really where it started to come clear for me. I didn't really resonate with the label, but I did resonate with a lot of the behaviors. So, in case I'm not alone in this, and I know I'm not. All right, the first one is you're always worried about what other people think. Have you thought about this as people-pleasing behavior? I think we usually put this in its own category, like it's a separate thing, but this is for sure people-pleasing stuff. We're constantly worried about what other people are thinking, which is kind of fascinating, by the way, because if you think about it, if you're worried about what the other people are thinking and the other people are worried about what the other people are thinking, like who's doing the actual thinking, right? You with me? This is a tricky math problem. Everyone is worried about what everyone else is thinking. But aside from that, the reason we're worried about what other people are thinking can usually be distilled down to either we want them to be happy or we want them to like us. And in both cases, we're likely to engage in behavior in an effort to win one of those unwinnable trophies. Behavior that, again, may mean completely abandoning our own authenticity strictly in the interest of pleasing the people around us. Okay, first quote. This is from Ed Sheeran. He said, "I can't tell you the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everyone." All right, another red flag is when it's hard for you to say no. If you're saying yes to all of the requests and all of the favors that come your way, you are acting like a people pleaser. Because here's the thing, think about why it's hard to say no. It's often because you don't want to let someone down, right? You don't want to inconvenience someone. You don't want to disappoint anyone. It's not because you genuinely always want to say yes. It's because of the presumed response that you think you're going to get from the other person. You with me? Like, just get curious. If you notice yourself hesitating to say no when you want to say no, it might have something to do with trying to make someone happy or try to make someone like you. This is some sneaky people-pleasing behavior. Okay, so here's a noble sounding one. You ready? You might be a people pleaser if you identify as a giver. Man, this one sounds so good on paper, doesn't it? Like, who doesn't love a giver? I tell ya, givers, they get tired of giving because it costs so damn much. Again, this is a simple math problem. You cannot give when you're totally empty, when you have nothing left. And if you're not constantly and consistently getting filled up, whether that's with downtime or doing things you enjoy or having a people around who give to you, like this is a one-way path towards burnout, resentment, and all-out frustration. Now, our society will tell you otherwise. We laud givers, right? We raise women in particular to be martyrs and to just give of themselves tirelessly. Think about this. This is one of the accolades we pass around to moms. She's so selfless. Ugh. It's like as if it's possible to give of ourselves tirelessly. It's not. Do not fall for that. Don't live like that because it will not work. So just notice if this is an identity you have, if it's something you believe to be true about yourself. Oh, I'm such a giver. I like giving to other people. These could be signals. And hey, again, it's not that you never want to give to people. Of course you do. Of course you want to give. Sometimes, in some ways, but not always in all the ways. You cannot give at the expense of yourself, not in an ongoing way. All right, here's another quote for you. This one's from Jim Carrey. He said this: "Your need for acceptance can make you invisible in this world. Don't let anything stand in the way of the light that shines through this form. Risk being seen in all of your glory." I love that. Your need for acceptance can make you invisible in this world. All right? People pleasing can do this to you. All right. Here's one that's more of a symptom than a behavior, but it's something you may notice that you're feeling. And that is, you feel resentful towards people, maybe even some of the people you love the most, maybe even the people you live with. So this is super fun, right? This, like I said, it's something you may notice as a feeling. Maybe you have a somewhat never-ending current of resentment that flows just under the surface, day in and day out, towards the people you're surrounded by. And one thing to ask yourself about that kind of resentment is to get curious about whether that's arising from a sense of running around and trying to make those people happy all day, every day. If you're trying to make everyone's life easier and anticipate what they're going to need, and if you're constantly trying to prevent them from feeling any pain or any inconvenience, you're trying to prevent them from forgetting anything or having to go without anything, then it's possible you're running yourself ragged in the interest of making someone else's life easier, and that you're slowly building a mountain of resentment towards them. Sometimes we're doing things people aren't even asking us to do. That's even more fun, right? And I should do a whole other episode about how we actually want our children to be resilient instead of happy. But just consider if you're doing that whole lawnmower parenting thing where you're making their lives perfectly easy and perfectly manageable and anticipating their every need and watching their every breath, you can't keep that up. You're going to lose your mind. You will burn out, wear out, and be full of resentment. That's just more tricky math, right? That's a math problem that never adds up. Eve Ensler, she wrote this. She's the author of the Vagina Monologues. "I finally know the difference between pleasing and loving, obeying and respecting. It has taken me so many years to be okay with being different and with being this alive, this intense." Yes, there is a world of difference between pleasing and loving, right? Obeying and respecting. And it is so valuable to find that line and to live on the right side of it, the healthy side for yourself. All right, a couple more. Next is that you equate kindness with saying yes, with agreeing or going with the flow. Kindness has become somewhat of a buzzword lately. It's something that you're seeing on t-shirts at Target. It's something that you might hear from personal trainers at the gym. I feel like even in the corporate world, kindness is gaining traction, right? And sure, we've talked a lot about kindness around here. Self-compassion, right? Presence, gratitude, yes. But we've also talked about this around here. Our culture likes to confuse being polite with kindness, and those are not the same things. Politeness reeks of people pleasing. They're practically synonymous, really. Neglect yourself to make others happy, right? Abandon your wants and needs to support others. Forget what you would like to do and martyr yourself. It's so polite. I can say yes, I can be agreeable, and I can go with the flow. Like, we wear these things like badges of honor. But if you're doing those things, wishing you weren't doing those things, then you're actually just lying to all of the people around you. And that is not kind. It could be polite, the way our society thinks of politeness, but it's definitely not kind. You with me? All right, lastly, you might be a people pleaser if you don't have much free time or time to do what you enjoy. All right, this is a sneaky one, but this is true. Again, just try this on. If you get to the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the year, and you look around and you're like, that flew by. I didn't do anything I wanted to do. I didn't do anything I enjoyed, right? It could be because you're saying more yeses to the external world and winding up with more no's for yourself. So this can become another symptom of people pleasing when you're consistently and constantly putting others' needs before your own. When you only get the leftover scraps of time and energy after you've done all the other things. And then you start noticing, hey, I don't have any free time. I don't have any time to do what I want to do. I don't enjoy doing anything in my life, right? Now, I know that this one in particular, this can sound like a nice to have. We fall into the trap of believing that downtime is a luxury, that rest and relaxation will be nice, maybe once a year on vacation, that we can do without joy and laughter and restoring our hearts and our souls by connecting with friends or engaging in the activities and the events that we truly love for no other reason than sheer pleasure. Folks, it's not a nice to have. It's required. And when you start realizing that you have no time to yourself, it's a red flag that you may be doing some people pleasing in your life. Paulo Coelho said, when you say yes to others, make sure you're not saying no to yourself. And honestly, we could probably boil the whole thing down to these last few words. We could probably study and practice with that one little nugget for years. When you say yes to others, make sure you're not saying no to yourself. That's it, folks. That's people pleasing in a nutshell. That's the litmus test for it. Say yes to others when you can, when you want to. But don't do it at the expense of yourself. Not when you're constantly telling yourself no. It won't work long term. That won't even work medium term. And ultimately, your relationships and your own emotional health will be far better served and far healthier overall when you're willing to see these kinds of people-pleasing behaviors for what they are and let them go. All right, my friend, that's what I have for you today. I hope you're doing well, that this is helpful, that this maybe helps to untangle the knot of people-pleasing. And perhaps, like I suggested at the beginning, you can see some of this in yourself and maybe even more closely align with sometimes asking, like, am I acting like a people pleaser? Am I giving too much of myself? What's the cost here? Right? Not because you don't want to give, not because you don't want the people around you to be happy, but because it's so vital to take care of yourself first and foremost. It's necessary. It's required. Yeah? All right. I will see you at the same time, same place next week for more Transforming Anxiety. And until then, please take care. Do you have someone to help you with your stress, anxiety, worry, and overwhelm? If not, I would love to be your coach. The Fierce Calm Project is my virtual coaching program where we get to go in on topics like this one, and I can help you apply these lessons to your life so that you're creating your own transformation. We do live coaching calls, guided meditations, on-demand yoga classes. We hold book club where we read books your neighborhood book club won't, and there's lots of bonus content that I've created just for you. When you're ready to take what you're learning on the podcast to a whole other level, then come on over and check out the Fierce Calm Project at kellyhanlonmccormick.com/Fierce Calm Project.